So far, a very entertaining night of Siege. It's had some highs, it's had some lows, and now we go to the peaks of the games themselves. Elevate taking on Dire Wolves. Elevator coming off the back of a pretty average performance. Nah, I think that's a little bit too harsh. They obviously got stunned, and so did the rest of the audience, I'm sure of it, by the last dance, whereas Dire Wolves are kind of trending upward after their defeat against the Chiefs. Raven, what are we making of this one?
I think this is a very exciting matchup just because, as you said, the Dire Wolves feel like they're trending up and maybe Elevate feel like they're trending down. So, of course, the more matches we get through this stage, we can start to see whether that is confirmed or not. And I think if Dire Wolves manage to take this victory against Elevate, it certainly cements that they are really starting to climb in the ranks of APAC South.
Well, they're already there, aren't they? It feels like they're already climbing, but a team that really were, I guess, the number one, Elevate, right? We saw them. 2021, they had unbelievable performances. Stage 1, they were undeniably the chance. Then it kind of went here and there, Dev. I think that it kind of maybe tapered off a little bit, but SI was what seemed like a completely revitalized team, only to then go and make a couple of roster changes, to which we have, you know, a new team again, 40% different to what it was in 2021. Where are we sitting here?
Well, it's very hard to know exactly how Elevate sits. Similar to a team like Chiefs, we haven't fully seen what to expect from them, and like you said, 2 players changing in the roster. Yeah, they had a phenomenal performance at SI. They 2-0'd TSM, the eventual world champions, in the group stage, and they had a decent run in the playoffs as well, albeit eventually losing out and being eliminated. But Elevate, this is a team that I think has made a name for themselves globally now. However, Mark and Mr. Punch are yet to do so. They're the new kids on the roster. They've come from Sharper Esports, the team that lost out in the relegations and failed to make it to APAC South for this year. What is Elevate capable of? Well, we're not so sure, because like you said, they lost their match to Renardist, or the Last Dance, just 2 nights ago. A bit of an upset against them. And look, they really need to bounce back. We have a lot of expectation riding on them, and they really need to deliver.
And a team that we didn't have a hell of a lot of expectations around coming into 21, Raven, Dire Wolves, or formerly known, of course, as Seventh Heaven, they stunned us in stage 1 of last year, and it looks like they're repeating that trend after taking down the Chiefs just earlier on Thursday.
Yeah, and it was a pretty good match from Dire Wolves as well, because it's not like the Chiefs played terribly. You know, they really did put up a good fight. But Dire Wolves, they weathered the storm, and they made some big decisions. That play there, actually, from Jackie Wu in particular, was a really big one. It really changed the momentum of the game, and it kind of pushed Dire Wolves a lot more towards the victory. Yeah. So I'm really excited for this, because it's going to be a different challenge, and of course the caliber of Elevate coming into this year, after the year that they had, after the SI performance they had, I think to be able to get another victory like that for Dire Wolves would be just such a big marker for their progress.
It is gaming chair. It's going to be said. He's even got a chair in the back now. He is living in style. Tell you what,
Zero chair, having a whole bunch of chairs. What?
He went from like a stool into like an armchair, into like I think it was a dining chair, into an armchair. Now he's got whatever he wants around. He's got LED lights. Mate, ED is living it up. And so too are Dire Wolves, Dev. And I think that the big talking point that we had, I'm sure Raven kind of touched on it a little bit, is the fact that, like, you know, Chiefs were playing at a very high level against Dire Wolves. This was not like Dire Wolves are playing against a wounded Chiefs or a Chiefs that weren't looking on their game. They put up a really good fight.
Very much, and we've seen what the Chiefs are now capable of with their 7-0 earlier tonight. Well, I think if anything, that just gives more credit to Dire Wolves for the 7-5 victory that they had in regulation just 2 nights ago. And Dire Wolves now knowing that teams like Elevate, Chiefs, Knights, even IG are having significant roster changes and potentially weaker, this is really the moment for Dire Wolves to step up, to take the opportunity to become one of those top teams, to not only make it to a playoffs, but actually make it to the major, which they have never done before. And when I was speaking to Onigiri before the season started from Elevate, he said, like, I asked him straight up, I was like, who do you think is the scariest team, the most likely team to be #1 in APAC South? He told me Dire Wolves.
Jeez, that is a huge call. I mean, I guess when you have a look at their performances of last year, maybe it's not so much of a shock, but for a team that really came in with no expectations, Raven, they have taken off to a much greater height than we ever anticipated. And look, maybe they will continue to do so. However, before we get underway, we need to have a look at the vetoes and we'll start to dissect maybe a new map, please. God damn it! Two Playdays. Come on.
Yeah. No, look, this is it's an interesting little veto, actually. Oregon is a pretty decent map for both teams. Some of their most played maps, in fact, on both sides, and they both have pretty decent, strong winning records on it. So I think this is a really good map to see them both compete against. The most recent result between these two teams was actually during the SI qualifiers, and Elevate actually won 7-2 on Oregon during that. So that's, I guess, a nice little booster for Elevate coming into it. But again, they've changed their roster a little bit. Doesn't seem to be the Elevate of last year, so it's hard to say whether that result is really a whole lot to count towards this matchup.
Dev, I asked to you the same question that I think we've asked in pretty much every veto phase. How much of last year's results are we bringing into this new season?
Decent amount, honestly. Like Elevate still have the same core team. Direwolves have the same 4 out of 5. They've only made 1 roster change, so I think you can put a lot of stake in formal results. Oregon has always been arguably Elevate's favorite map. It is by far their most played map. They really play it a lot in their national circuit as well. And so you can't necessarily see them like beating national level teams as really exciting for them. It's like, oh yeah, they should be winning all those games anyway. But Elevate still have some really big wins. On Oregon, like they beat Rogue 8-7 at 6 Invitational. They beat TSM 8-7 at 6 Invitational. They did lose it to Sonics, which was eventually where they got eliminated. But I think that's pretty damn impressive for Elevate to take on some of the best teams in the world, including the best team in the world, and win on this map. It goes to show how good they are here. And with Direwolves getting the final pick between Cafe and Oregon, it's look, a bit of a ballsy one from them to take Elevate to Oregon.
It certainly is. Like when you actually think about the choice that they had to weigh up there, Raven, it does feel like they have almost lent into Elevate and kind of gone, come on, bring your best game, bring your A game, because you're going to need it. Now, I've got to ask you, predictions here overall. What are we thinking? Are you leaning toward Direwolves? Are you leaning toward the boogeyman that Onigiri has referenced, or are we thinking this is a red and white day?
I'm still going to stick with Direwolves. I mean, that's who I predicted at the start of the day, and I'm still feeling like they have just continuously made, it's been really small steps. Even throughout last year, they've made steps forward and forward and forward. They played quite well in the SI qualifiers. Yeah, they made 1 roster change and they brought in Harambe. And look, he played okay. Yes, not yesterday, the previous Playday. Yeah. But I don't know. I just have a feeling that Direwolves, they have a really good shot to take this one.
Dev?
Yeah, honestly, I'm just inclined to agree. I think Direwolves, like I said before, this is their opportunity. All of the other teams in APAC South have made really significant roster changes. I think that this is their chance. Elevate is wounded. They're still getting used to their new roster. So Direwolves, just give it everything you've got.
All right. Well, guess what? It's time to get underway. We've had 2 back-to-back game of the days, and, well, to run you through all the action, I'm going to be a little bit nicer this time. There's 2 of the very best to do it. It's Guz and Xenox.
Thank you very much, guys. Looking forward to this one. Elevate, Direwolves. It feels like must-win territory, Guz, even though it's only Playday 2, though. I honestly think for Elevate, we don't want to be counting them out. They've lost 1 game, whatever. It is what it is. For Direwolves, you can almost say the same thing. It's only 1 game that they played really, really well in. Can they do it twice in a row against a team like Elevate?
Yeah, it's sort of an interesting crossroads we find ourselves in, right? Elevate probably should have won their last game. Let's put it out there, right, against the Last Dance. And Direwolves did a good job to shut down the Chiefs. So let's see if these teams can back up their form, or maybe Elevate can go against the grain and get a win here. The socials, very close. I wouldn't have expected it to be this close, but there you have it.
52%, 48% on the socials in favor of the Direwolves. They need to win this one, Elevate, though, I think. Otherwise, you could already start to see that top 2 spot get very difficult to climb back into, because if Direwolves win this, IG, Direwolves, both on 6 points already in that top 2, Elevate would be on 0. And the thing is, it's always that old adage, but there's still like, 5 more play days to go. But that's it. It's only 5 more play days after this, right? It's not like you get all that many games. You need to make them all count as we head over to Oregon and into the bands.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think about how short the regular season is. And I say short because in comparison to the playoffs format, which is now 6 days, it sort of puts it into perspective, right? About you don't get a huge opportunity to make that top 4. And if you get off to a slow start, you could find yourself under a lot of pressure in the last couple of play days to recover that deficit. So I'm sure that's something Elevate are mindful of. They'll know that they disappointed themselves a little bit earlier in the week, but now's their chance to bounce back. I don't think, though, that Divers are going to be a pushover at all. It does feel like their power level has increased a little bit over the off-season, and it was a good performance from them against the Chiefs.
Yeah, and the Chiefs played well in that game. That's the other thing to sort of take note of, right? When you think of a team winning, you can say like, oh, Direwolves were great, but the other team maybe wasn't that great. Chiefs were great. And we saw the Chiefs respond here in Playday 2 as well earlier on, a couple of hours ago against Fury 7-0. So Direwolves took down a very formidable roster. And then for Elevate, last stands are great. They're good. But they did lose to Knights today. So where does that put them? Then where does that put Elevate? We'll have to wait and see. But I do feel like this particular game should, again, like we had from IG and Wildcard, answer some questions. As Direwolves on the attack first, Elevate on the defense. It's very important, especially here on Oregon, for Elevate to get off to a good start. 4-2 half at minimum, I believe, is going to be their goal.
Nothing too significant standing out in terms of the operator bans heading into this particular matchup. I will say that I'm surprised Valk has been banned, but she still does have a decently high ban rate here in APAC South heading into the play day. It was sitting at 50% despite those cameras no longer sending a video feed after 10 seconds being outside the building. I guess Elevator just leaning on old habits there, or they feel that even within the confines of Oregon, it's going to be quite strong, and rightly so, as Valkyrie cameras can feed a lot of information, and Elevate just not wanting to deal with that and not feeling reliant on it, as they are the ones starting on the defense.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
You think Elevate would panic if they lose this game, guys? I mean, they've obviously still got Angry X and Napier as subs. Not to say that it would be inherently Mark or Mr. Punch, but just in general, if you lose your first 2 games to start the stage, 0 points, is it panic stations, or do you look to that 3rd game? What is it? Wild card for Playday 3. I mean, that's not going to be easy.
It's going to be tough. Maybe. You say that and people are probably thinking you're joking and memeing, but Elevate have shown us in the past that they are not very afraid to make roster changes even when we least expect it, and we know with that track record that maybe if things do start going downhill, they'll get a little bit desperate, panic a little bit, and go for that change if they feel it's necessary. I don't know if a loss here would be the trigger for that, but it would certainly be an interesting discussion going forward through the rest of the stage if their form isn't great. But obviously that's a doomsday outlook scenario, if you would.
Ooh.
And that's a good start. Sap the first onto Jackie Wu, who got a little bit aggressive over towards Freezer and is punished.
Well, Jackie Wu was just clearing off checklist items and then gets swung by Sapper. This is what you do want, though. A little bit of aggression, especially on the defense. Look for that first pick, make it a 5v4. Generally speaking, from this kind of position now, Elevate shouldn't really be losing too much. Mike actually stays. Oh, no. This is so risky. And it works. He gets the headshot elimination onto ED. That there is probably the round. But Mark, that was such a 50-50 moment. Gets thrown down, doesn't fall back to Pillar. Instead, stays on backstairs, looks for the elimination, finds it. Now backstairs control has been established for Direwolves, looking to clear the player at Pillar. It's Mr. Punch. He swings as well. He loses out to Souffle. It's 2 versus 3 now. Elevate aggressive on the defense.
In a little bit of a wild round thus far. Messy from both teams. The execution not perfect, but Elevate find themselves on the front foot and they can lock down this basement objective. Direwolves will reposition drones. 40 seconds left in the round. Souffle and Harambe both zooming around the map, seeing if they can maybe isolate a play here, try and force a 2v2.
Souffle does have one more frag grenade. Flash goes in from Harambe, but loses his head immediately to Sapper. Souffle throws out his final nade, but to no avail. Onigiri gets the final elimination in the round, and it's Elevate who take the opening round here on Oregon. Sometimes offense is indeed the best defense.
A good first round there from Elevate. Kicked off with a little bit of a bang, and it was great aggression against each of those choke points. Really had Freezer locked down quite nicely from Elevate. Then backstairs was fiercely contested, and Elevate again able to win out that engagement. That set themselves up nicely for the closing portion of that round. They didn't have to do anything all that special. They didn't throw away any ones, and rightly so, they won the round. So a good start here for Elevate, and it's these little rounds, these little victories that I think are going to help a team that has shown in the past that confidence can wither after a couple of round losses. So to flip that and build confidence with round wins is really, really key.
Just quickly, second time seeing Thorn tonight. We saw it in the Knights Last Dance matchup. I think we only saw it for the one round. Don't even think it really had much of an impact, but what's generally your thought here?
Bad op, good gun, shield.
Thanks.
That's the short version.
TLDR with Guz, thank you very much.
And, well, if you want me to expand upon that point, I don't see her utility as being all that prevalent or impactful in competitive play. Her traps are simply too easy to spot and shut down. Yes, they can pose a bit of a threat, but they don't do an immediate amount of damage that you can rely upon, much like a Legion, for example, with those goo mines, or a Caprican and He's traps. So
yep.
I think for the most part, teams are picking her because her primary is so strong. Oh. And she has a deployable shoot as well, both of which are really powerful.
Well, DCH very much the embodiment of Elevate's aggression here on the defense, looking for that opening pick, but alas, it goes almost the other way. Loses the majority of his health, and Souffle just drops on down through Big Tower. Just a punch at the bottom of backstairs now. That could be an interesting one, but would imagine either he'll get droned out or someone may make the trip down there. But if he times this well, could sneak up if Direwolves don't have anyone watching. Well, they had ED watching, but he loses out anyway. There's the trade, though, from Jackie Wu. At least at minimum, you take the trade. 4 versus 4, still a lot of time, and it means Souffle continues to open up this attic wall.
Yeah, he probably could have gotten away with just the pick and retreated to basement and caused more issues later into the round, but Mr. Punch elected to re-pick, and Jackie Wu switched on, able to get that trade. So not the worst of results. Losing Yana, not the absolute worst operator they could have lost in this situation, but it does mean 2 nades are off the board, and that additional information gathering potential also has been eliminated. 90 seconds now left in the round, and Direwolves continue to work Big Tower, trying to get an entry point in towards Attic with the blowtorch and pressure elsewhere. Harambe on the game's repel. Onigiri monitoring anything over towards Armory, but for the meantime, that's pretty quiet.
Do have to remember, of course, DCH very low in health, won't take much to take him down. Souffle, who opened up Attic, now over towards Meeting to see what he can find here now down below. Mark is in there loitering around inside of Kitchen. We've got just about 45 seconds remaining in the round. How much time really is there going to be here for Direwolves to try and flush out this player? It's an important one, but time is of the essence. Pika, finally, they've been able to trap him in there. But again, only 35 seconds left.
Time critical. Sapper with an angle up above. That's underneath the main window. DCH, you can see him inside of Kid's bedroom, very low on HP, and Onigiri as well will need to try and step up. DCH prepping for the vault. A good angle in towards Pit. Onigiri with the cross. These positions from Elevate, honestly, aren't all that bad, but can they hold out against the trade?
DCH, despite being on low health, does find the frag of Souffle. It's the Ash that walks in onto site. Onigiri, though, spots another one at the backside of Dorms. It's Harambe. It's a 1 versus 2. And it's easy as that for Onigiri and for Elevate. A quick 2-0 start here on Oregon on the defense, as you would probably expect so far. Nothing really too amazing from either teams here. It's pretty much just job done so far from Elevate.
Yeah, really positive body language, though, you can see on screen now from Elevate. They are, like most teams, honestly, that sometimes can show their tilt on camera, but also show their excitement. And their confidence when they are playing well. Smiles all around. It's awesome to see. Like I sort of touched on before, Elevate are a team that really can lean in to their confidence to back themselves in to go for their slightly more aggressive approach to the game, and it seems like at the moment that's working quite nicely for them. Third round though, going to be the real tester. On Oregon, sometimes in particular matchups you can sort of bank basement and second floor as being pretty much locked down by the defense, but this is the sort of wild card on the map, right, where do you go meeting, do you go dining, and then you need to be able to try and convert that on the defense to establish yourself a really nice half. And Elevate so far, they've been playing well, but like I said before, this is the tester for them.
10 seconds to go.
Nico with the attacker repick from the Twitch over to the Sledge. Spawns to kitchen meeting.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb and
So,
defuse it.
third round, and a chance for Elevate to do the round the world tour. It is defense on Oregon though, and that's where we temper our expectations. And of course, as we know, going into the second half, you'll be expecting Direwolves to replicate what we've seen from Elevate thus far. The goal here for Direwolves is to not allow this to get to, say, like a 4-0, and then Elevate from that point for the final 2 rounds get to play with house money. Goal is 4-2 for both sides, 4 for Elevate, 2 for Direwolves. So far, Elevate halfway to their objective, Direwolves not.
Direwolves wanting control up above. Jackaroo spearheading that master bedroom. Pika as well, as mentioned, repicked onto the Sledge. He'll offer a great opportunity in Kid's bedroom, for example, to get control down below in lines of sight in towards kitchen. Jackie Wu as well on the cross can aid in stifling these defenders. Elevate playing this quite smartly though. They're not feeding. They're just waiting it out. Taking down drones, 4 of which are already in the grave. That's going to make things increasingly more challenging for Direwolves.
4-1 split at the moment, just the one player for Elevate actually over towards meeting. 2 above in Kids' dorms, then 2 down below. Minute and a half remaining, and yeah, I think the biggest difference here is just the drop-off in aggression from Elevate, and it's playing into their hands now. Because Direwolves probably expecting Elevate to be aggressive, to look for picks. And yet nothing's really coming out from them. There's not a whole lot of information. So now you think, well, okay, we don't have much time. We need to draw our attention back over to the objective, which is getting this meeting wall opened up and providing an avenue to get this diffuser down. Sapper is probably the most important player right now, and he falls to Harambe from that attic hatch. Jackie Wu gets Mark, and he does fall, though, at least to DCH. It's a trade. Under a minute left, and Mr. Punch has now got a bit of work to do as well.
Question does arise. How will Elevate deny the plant? How will they even deny the entry? They can't even do that. 4v2 and Onigiri is still up. We know he can have an impact, but in this position, it's going to be tough. He will get the first as Pika pushes way too deep. Not immediately traded either, allowing Onigiri to take a breath. And he needs all the confidence in the world to win this one out. Gets lit up from the hatch, can't respond. That's Harambe with the diffuser. Gets fed another souffle. Dio was just giving him ones.
Yeah, it could very well be 2 1v1s here if Onigiri positions himself correctly for it. And there's the swing. It's not a good one from ED, but fortunately Harambe follows up and has an angle. That could have gone horribly wrong for Direwolves, but in the end it doesn't. To the credit of Onigiri, made them sweat and work for it, but Direwolves finally get on the board here on Oregon.
Yeah, Onigiri playing that as well as he realistically could from that position. His teammates, unfortunately, not offering all that much support. And that's a big round again in the context of this map. For Elevate, it's unfortunate. If basement and second floor end up being close to or 100% win rates for the defense, it does come down to that tertiary site as being critical. And they didn't quite hit the mark. They really did end up struggling in the latter phases of that round. And Dire was, despite feeding a little bit, ultimately did a good job in closing it out.
Relieves a little bit of pressure as well for the Direwolves. You've got 1, you've got 3 more rounds to get a second, so you don't have to sweat as much. It's never a good feeling when you go down 3-0. Not that we've seen, you know, teams never be able to come back from that, but it just keeps sort of, at least you're on the scoreboard, gets that flowing, gets that 1 out of 2 rounds. Good feelings all around for Direwolves. And I will say, though, off the back of the first 3 games, from what I've seen, and obviously Onigiri a big factor for it, Elevate looking a bit better than what we saw from them on Playday 1. Not that they were awful by any means, but just feels like they're a little bit more playing into their aggression and just generally playing just that little bit better than they did against the Last Dance.
Jackie Wu, who's been fun to watch in this one so far. Had a couple of really nice entries and quick flicks. But has equally been traded out by Elevate, as his scoreline would suggest. So looking at him to maybe reach another level here. Maybe the goal here is to hunt down Onigiri. He's the only one having a huge impact on the scoreboard. It looks like Peak is hungry. I'm looking for support though. He can't just go with this alone. Onigiri's playing this smart. He'll fall back. That's been sort of the trend from Elevate on the defense. Have a bit of control above, but don't sacrifice your life for it. It's working so far.
Oh, that we could literally see that happening in real time as Onigiri falls to Harambe, and it gives Direwolves the opening elimination here in the 4th round. Not ideal as well. Laundry supply, you can obviously, as the defenders, manage this little deficit. It's not awful, but it does give Direwolves the slight upper hand now.
Cheeky impact grenade there from Elevate to find a drone. Now only 4 remaining for the attack. That could spell disaster for Direwolves. But importantly, for a basement attack, they have the man advantage, and that's going to be key when they go for these trades. They can send in players to key positions with the confidence that where one falls, another will replace that position and find the kill. Ultimately, a 1-for-1 trade game ends with Direwolves winning out the round, and that's probably from this point onwards going to be their goal. Mr. Punch in a bit of a strange position, still trying to hold Pillar. Doesn't really get punished though, instead able to reassess his position over towards long hallway, opening up things for Direwolves. They'll send a Yana clone forward, try and find some information as they look to go for this execute.
Not a whole lot of time left. Nitrocell hits the mark from Mr. Punch, gets rid of ED. Coming down backstairs, Mark as well with a nice headshot with the SMG, and Mr. Punch holding the close angle against Harambe. In the blink of an eye, this attack from the Direwolves has wilted. It's not looking good at all. It's now 3 for Mr. Punch. They have the info. They have the ping on Souffle. Honestly, could have given Mr. Punch the quad, but who cares in the end? It's a round win for Elevate. 3-1 lead now here on Oregon.
Well, blink and you miss it, I guess.
Yep.
Despite Onigiri falling so soon, the rest of the team stepping up to the mark. A little bit aggressive over towards long corridor, and I think that may have been what really threw off Direwolves. You could see they didn't have a very good read as to where those players were situated, and unfortunately, just the trade potential from Direwolves was not realized at all. Elevate way too snappy. An unfortunate result there for the attack, but Elevate, they'll be full steam ahead now, I think.
Big round, or big rounds really to close out this first half. Both teams now essentially 1 round away from their first half objectives of 4 and 2 respectively. With 2 rounds to go, at least one of these 2 teams will have an opportunity to better the other in this first half, whether it's say 5-1 first half to Elevate, or even 3-3 for Direwolves in an attacking half of Oregon, which would be a tremendous result. We head to Kid Storms upstairs. Last time it was Elevate who defended successfully. They brought the Thorn, didn't quite work out all that well. I don't think we saw any of the Razor Blooms actually activate, or at least may have missed them. Instead, they put Sapper back onto the smoke.
This would be a really big round for Direwolves to win. It would probably force Elevate to reattempt the site. And after the last round, I think Direwolves need something to really kickstart a bit of meaningful confidence, because the only site they have one, of course, was meeting and kitchen. Sapper over towards Armory. Jackie Wu to contest. Neither player, again, wanting to do anything too wild. It's been pretty disciplined from both teams, honestly. Sometimes you head into a match like this, Direwolves and Elevate, probably two of the more renowned teams for doing it, where they will be maybe a little bit too aggressive in some of the opening phases of these rounds. But so far, at least by their standards, it has been very tame.
But that's the thing with the aggression from Elevate. You do not have to do it every single round. You come out, the first 2 rounds, you're aggressive, you look for spawn peaks, and then suddenly, for the rest of the half, Direwolves are now having that mental aspect of knowing Elevate at any moment could look to swing, could look to be aggressive, could look to spawn peak, could be in weird off angles. But it's Pika who finds the opening kill in this 5th round, gets rid of DCH. Jaeger off the board.
He's just in kids. Onigiri does find one, but Pika to trade again in that powerful position. Someone needs to shut him down. Mr. Punch steps up to the plate. Trade from Harambe as Sapper now gets it back to a 2 versus 2. This has been in quite the round so far.
Yeah, I mean, we've still got 1 minute 15 seconds remaining. Three smoke babes available for Sapper as well. Jackie Wu watching Harambe stick this plant. He has a beautiful angle on Mark at the top of White Stairs, who though has a little angle to his right-hand side, tries to go under it and find a shot back onto Jackie Wu. The swing from Sapper was not that bad. Mark though in a 1 versus 1 against Jackie Wu.
LMG. He can just hold down left click.
Oh no, he's going to lose this one. Surely Mark gets away with his health intact, but not very much of it. Jackie Wu just has to hold on for time here. He has the pings and the information. Mark in basically an unwinnable situation. Now, there's not much he can realistically do. Doesn't have a whole lot of time, and hell, doesn't have any health either. Jackie Wu has played this perfectly for the Direwolves and gets the kill as deserved against Mark. Direwolves get to their 2nd round win here in the first half.
Yeah, a little bit scary there for Elevate, allowing the Twitch inside of Kid's bedroom. No real response. And it does transpire in Direwolves taking Kid's dorms. Critical in the context of the match as they were really struggling on these primary sites. So well done by Direwolves when they really needed it. And now I'm very, very intrigued. What's the response from Elevate? Do you reattempt this site? Or do you lean back on the tertiary hoping you can get it back? I don't think the tertiary is really going to be on the cards, and as you can see, they have committed once more to upstairs.
Yeah, obviously laundry supply locked away. They did win that 2 out of 2 times. Won dorms the first time at kitchen meeting, and dorms then both lost in a row. Not ideal when those are basically your only options to close out the half. So for Elevate now, it's a matter of just trying to get job done, get that 4-2 half in the bank. Otherwise, they're going to have to hope this is a bit of an attacker-sided Oregon going into the 2nd half. Direwolves, they get a freebie. They get an opportunity to really put the foot down here and establish themselves going into the 2nd half with a 3-3 scoreline. And switching over to the defense, they'll then start on most likely laundry supply, win that, and then suddenly it's 4-3 in favor of Direwolves, and it'll be hard to stop them from that point. So much can transpire very quickly here if Elevate don't win here on Kids Dorms.
In terms of unpacking the setup here from the defense, Elevate seemingly playing quite a default upstairs hold. I was looking for a swift entry though, over towards small tower. Drone at the feet of Pika as he smacks his way forward. He'll be looking to probably get control of kitchen and bottom right stairs, but util as well that he can try and deal with. 2 nades in tow as well. And those can be critical as ED is about to show.
Oh my goodness.
Didn't quite get the kill though.
And Elevate have had a couple of those little moments go their way in this match where that frag grenade doesn't find the full elimination. Yes, it does 95% of DCH's health, but it doesn't find the kill. And even Mark in that last round of the 1v1 probably should have died and yet lived with a sliver of HP. So Elevate have had some blessings here on Oregon. By all means, it's not like they've been unlucky. DCH does stay alive, but now falls. Can they bring him back up? And he'll have a little bit more health if he does get back up. Mark does find the opening kill onto Pika. No response immediately from the Direwolves.
DCH actually yet to be picked up, but there we go. 5v4 officially. Elevate with the advantage. Souffle now creeping forward. Maverick not electing to push Big Tower instead down below. ED will get the first, and critically, that's Onigiri. That's a pretty big pick. And if Souffle can find this kill down below, it could be even larger for Direwolves. But Mr. Punch against the grain will get a trade.
Mr. Punch having a pretty decent game so far, matching on Onigiri's 7-4. Mr. Punch and DCH both very low on health, practically equally low. 50 seconds remaining in the round. Elevate do still have a man advantage. ED low on health too, but not as low as Punch and DCH. Literally walking around into Dorm, spots the player at the backhand shot. Souffle gets rid of Mr. Punch as well. Down near security. It's a 2 versus 2. 2 gas babes available for Sapper. Mark still down below. Does he win this one? No, he'd look down onto the floor for a split second, and Souffle will punish him. Sapper alone inside of Attic, and he gets caught by ED. It's Direwolves here on Oregon that take the first half 3-3. I know it's a weird one. It's a draw, but really, such a defender-sided map, guys. To get 3 rounds on the attack, massive for the Direwolves.
It might be a draw on the scoreboard, but that's a Direwolves win. To win that site twice in a row and to do it in the same way as well, super disappointing for Elevate. They let the Twitch sneak in and get picks. That time it was ED. He walked all the way through games, got the trade over towards double window, and just no response. Elevate unable to find him. They even had the diffuser on the floor and still couldn't win out the round. So again, a little bit has to go there to Direwolves. Great opportunistic gameplay. And a little bit of the blame has to also go there onto Elevate, allowing that to be facilitated. The beauty for us though is it sets up a really exciting second half.
Yep.
And Direwolves, again, in my mind with the momentum, let's see if they can actually close it out.
And they don't elect to go to Laundry Supply. 2 rounds of Dorms in a row. Let's make it 3 to start the second half. Direwolves on the defense, feeling like Dorms right now might actually be their safe haven. This is something we don't see too often. Generally, Laundry Supply, more preferred site for defenders on Oregon.
5 seconds left.
This is pretty big for Elevate to at least open the account here and maybe find this opening round on Kids Dorms. I hate to say it, but if they lose this round on Dorms and it gets locked away and then Laundry Supply opens up, this is not looking good for Elevate.
Interesting here from Direwolves, quite aggressive over towards Big Tower. Looks like a rotation from Addict in towards said tower. That might cause a disruption to the hard breach. Souffle as well playing on the tippy top on this 3rd floor. We never saw this level of aggression from Elevate, but it looks like Direwolves are backing themselves in to find these picks, to take down these drones, and maybe not even hold out. Souffle is pretty willing to just rotate off, and I don't mind that at all.
Just kind of feels like the last couple of rounds, and it's not all up to Onigiri, but the last couple of rounds he has been a bit quieter, getting caught earlier, and therefore not available towards the back end of rounds to really try and salvage things for Elevate if things are going wrong. Full credit though, Mark and Mr. Punch both been great. It's not like DCH and Sapper have been bad either. At the end of the day, it's a 3-3 scoreline, and both teams, I'd have to say, have been playing pretty well for the most part. Yeah, maybe there's little mistakes here or there, but that's fine. You expect that. A good game of Siege so far. Can it continue in the second half?
Attackers have dropped the bomb diffuser.
ED stepped it up in the last 2 defensive or attacking rounds, rather, now looking to step up on the defense. Fortunately for him, they take him down low, and this is the power of Buck down below inside of Kitchen. So much potential to open up that soft floor up above, create line to side, and force the defenders to shuffle around a little bit.
It's 5v5, but between Jackie Woo's health and Edie's health, they are quite low a little bit here defensively, the Direwolves. DCH, though, he's so low that he's dead. And it's Pico who gets that pick. Mr. Punch, you have to win this one over at backstairs, and he can't. He's pushed back. Nade in hand. Oh, but his opponent's pushed all the way up. Souffle is so aggressive here and walks away with the 1v1 victory against Mr. Punch, who I don't think was expecting Souffle to push all the way onto him. It's now 5 versus 3, but Jackie Woo, Souffle, Edie, all low. And Onigiri's still alive. 40 seconds left. Elevate will need to go big still to win this round. An opportunity there for Mark presented itself, but couldn't land that shot. It was a tough one. And Sapper now falls to Harambe. Pika with a flank. It's a 5v1. Onigiri's pretty good, guys, but I don't sense he's going to be able to win this round for Elevate. It's 4-3 Direwolves.
Well, your senses were correct. Direwolves with a flawless way of kicking off the second half. And it was all around a very well thought out, very well executed defense. And I have to say, I think the last 2 rounds of the first half have really stalled out Elevate. And it's going to be such an uphill battle for that Thai team to bounce back. Direwolves capitalizing upon that momentum. They can sense it, they can feel it, they're embracing it. Now they can head back downstairs to basement, a site which we haven't seen now for a little bit while, so I hope you've remembered what it looks like.
Where's this timeout though? It needed to have come out at this point. It's
not the first time for Elevate where they haven't used attack properly.
I feel like that has always been one of their biggest detriments, but it is only 4-3, I guess, if you look at it just from the perspective of the scoreboard. But the way I look at it is it's now 4 of the last 5 rounds in favor of Direwolves. That in itself is very concerning. Laundry supply has been broken down before by attacking teams, but I just don't know if Elevate have it in them right now. This is all Direwolves. Momentum fully in their corner. And they make it 5-3. The other thing to keep in mind, though, of course, short memory here, but Wildcard were up 5-2 against IG until an incredible comeback by IG took place. That was not too long ago, Guz. So by no means are Elevate out of this. It's just Direwolves definitely ahead right now.
I mean, you say that, but are we putting Elevate on the same stature as IG? I guess that's the overarching discussion. And I mean, we had a bit of an argument about this in the green room before we actually came into this broadcast, right? Who at the moment is #1? I'm pretty firm on IG. I'll stick by that. Yes, it's early days, but I'm just not getting that same sensation from Elevate at the moment. They're a shadow of their former selves still. And understandably so, it's going to take time for them to grow into this new roster, but that's not a very valid excuse when every other team besides Fury have made roster changes heading into the stage, and there are other teams looking a lot more comfortable at the moment.
Oh, that's an easy kill. Oh, and yet Onigiri can't confirm it until Harambe, but then does that to Souffle. I guess that makes up for it, Guz.
I think it does.
Oh. And then Mr. Punch gets rid of Harambe, who honestly should have fallen to Onigiri in the first place. Elevate with a 2-man advantage on Laundry Supply. And how things have turned very quickly. And now it seems like ED probably feels like he has to make something happen here over towards backstairs.
Yeah, forced to make a play, needs to try and find something. The longer the round goes on here, it actually will begin to favor Elevate to the death in the trade. Jackie Wu as well, sensing that he must be the hero, will relocate to the top of Freezer stairs. It's up to one of these players to catch Elevate off guard and find a couple of picks.
Oh, be careful when you're peeking your head around the corner like that. Mr. Punch, the Jackal, loses out. Over towards backstairs, but there's still another player there. It's Mark, and I think that caught Pika off guard. I don't know if he was expecting someone to be still in that position after getting rid of Mr. Punch. Really well played from Mark. Gets the trade. Just under a minute left. Still a 2-man advantage for Elevate. Need to close this round out. No ifs or buts. You cannot allow Jackie Wu and ED to walk away with a win in this 8th round.
Attackers dropped the diffuser. Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
DCH still with Candelas available. Can burn you till, can send out flashes, and that's exactly what he's going to do. DDH to drop the hatch, but Jackie Wu to shut it down. ED connects as well. Onigiri almost feeds and does the diffuser on the floor. Now Sapper, isolated inside of Supply, responds with 1. And now it's a patience game for Jackie Wu.
Jackie Wu has the health advantage, and he has the information along with the time being a factor too. Sapper's got Jackie Wu against Jackie Wu. Direwolves out of their chairs, quite literally, as they pull off the comeback in the 8th round, and they've got 4 rounds in a row. If I don't see TT in chat, questions are asked. This is all Direwolves right now.
Jackie Wu is my favorite player at the moment. No one can match him. He's just so damn good. Oh my god, what a clutch. What a round for Direwolves. Onigiri and the rest of the team just dropping straight down the hatch, one by one by one.
Where is it? Where's the technical timeout? Why?
Beats me. Penultimate match point for Direwolves.
4 rounds in a row. Elevate are getting absolutely torn to shreds by the Wolves. 5-3 scoreline now. And to make matters a little bit interesting, we don't head to kitchen meeting, we head to kitchen dining, and we see what Direwolves have up their sleeve here, because we don't see this site that often.
No, and that deployable shield setup already over towards bot white is something, I swear I haven't seen that before. Facing over towards the window to ADS devices, mute jammer as well, to fortify the wall into showers. So clearly thought has gone into this setup from Direwolves. Awesome to see. Mirror as well will be deployed as well on that position too. So this is cool from Direwolves. It's one thing for a setup to look good, it's another for it to be functional. So let's see what can happen. But again, leaning into sort of what I was saying earlier, Elevate aren't really a team that at the moment has looked promising and trying to manipulate these setups. As I say that, they have got an advantage. Pika throws away his life, but they didn't convert the advantage last round.
Can they do so here in the 9th round and just keep themselves in this match? You mean this? It's 5-4. It's not too bad. 3 points. Still technically, obviously, on the cards, but all the momentum has well and truly been on the side of Direwolves basically since, you know, the 5th round now to the 9th. It's just been, well, you could even maybe say the 3rd round. Oh my God.
Good night.
Oh, I didn't see it coming. Neither did Onigiri. It's been that kind of second half for Onigiri, who hasn't quite been able to make an impact for his team.
Can't be relying on one player though, and that sometimes can be the curse of Elevate. Who's going to step up in response? They have plenty of potential still left on this roster. Maybe it could be Mr. Punch or Mark, one of the new additions to the roster. Mr. Punch has been playing well so far. Minute 30 now left in the round. Mr. Punch with nades available. Harambe holding inside of Kids Storms. He's in a very powerful position to have an impact.
Harambe getting absolutely pressured right now and getting his feet shot out by Mark. Well played. Good game sense and knowledge. Gets rid of Harambe. Gives Elevate back the advantage that they had at the beginning of the round. That's just a one-man advantage. Ping down below, and it's going to be the mute jammer gone by DCH. Just a minute left remaining in the round. Punch still outside, and maybe expecting a late round flank over towards bot white. And I think he's right, and he has absolutely stood up here. You can't be doing that. Please don't. 30 seconds left into the round. Do apologize, by the way, for the sound bug, because it's even, please don't do that. Edie wins that. Round's not over. We keep our focus well and truly on seeing if Direwolves can close out defensively against this attack by Elevate. Souffle stuck inside of security. Gas Babe goes out. He's still got one more available. There's the smoke too. 10 seconds remaining. There's another Gas Babe. The fuser going down by Sapper. Nitrocell. Didn't hear that sound. That was a little bit delayed. Mark Doe from behind gets rid of ED, and DCH gets the elimination. Thanks, guys.
No problem. Oh, sorry, yeah, I have to commentate. Sorry, I thought I was just here for the noises. Yeah, really good round there from Elevate, doing a great job to bounce back. Things not looking very good for them, and the last couple of attacks pretty uninspiring, but a decent job to now keep it close, and they prevent Direwolves from claiming match point, which is awesome. They head back over towards second floor now. Direwolves able to head us back to this particular objective on the hunt for that 6th round.
And of course, just sort of reiterating the fact that Direwolves won Storms 3 times in a row, which was a big reason why they were able to establish this lead that they've now got.
5 seconds left.
But for how much longer can they hold it? Never going to count Elevate out and what they're certainly capable of. Do have to also then question, though, the kitchen dining decision by the Direwolves a little bit. And, you know, you said that, yeah, it was a nice little setup. Just in the end, didn't obviously work. How many times have we probably seen that on Kitchen Dining of all sites in Oregon? Where setups come out, things look good, you're like, oh, that's not bad, and then you just lose the site anyway.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just really distracted by the static. It gets me every time. Hopefully we see a drone get destroyed sooner rather than later so that we can restore the peace. That said, 7 only available, so 3 have already been taken down off screen. That could compromise Elevate's stature in the round later on. Mr. Punch with a quick control over towards Armory as he swings in. There is a defender inside of Trophy. I believe that's Jackie Wu, and he's a player that you probably don't want to be taking on at the moment. He's playing very well, but as I say that, he donates to the charity of Elevate.
Trade?
ED, however, will respond with a trade.
Keeps it 4 versus 4, keeps it entertaining here in the 10th round. Again, a reminder for Direwolves, if they win this round, that's at least 1 point secured, as it's OT secured.
Shoot the drone.
It also means that Elevate would not be able to get all 3 points, and they need, honestly, all 3 points right now. And that's only the second play day, but they got none. ED does fall to Mr. Punch, who's been so impressive. 11 and 8 now. When Onigiri has just kind of subsided a little bit, Mr. Punch and Mark have been able to stand up. The new additions for Elevate certainly have been able to hold their own.
Harambe to deal with the shock drone. Now 6 remaining. Don't know how many shock drones are left. In fact, still 1 in the pocket. DCH might still be able to do a bit of damage. Harambe looking to hold down the line over towards Attic. Trying to find a pick. Knowing that Direwolves are a man down. It would be great for him to find something here. The diffuser is down, so Elevate will need to route through this particular spot. Souffle down below. Harambe does find that kill. Mark unable to find the trade as Souffle repositions up top white.
And they know where Mark is as well. Just shot at the default camera. Pika gets rid of Onigiri, and suddenly the tide is turning once again in favor of Direwolves. And so much so, it's 3v1. Mark has so much to do, and he is cornered over towards White Stairs. It is looking like at least 1 point will be secured for the Direwolves as they will go to match point unless Mark pulls off something massive in the next 30 seconds. He sees the top of the head, but he can't quite land it. There's peek out from Harambe, but it's Souffle who gets it done. And it's the Direwolves who secure themselves 1 point and now match point.
Good work there from Direwolves. It wasn't the best of starts as Jackie Wu did donate a pick, but it was a swift trade, and I think that's probably been one of the tells so far from when Direwolves are playing well. Their trades have been quite proficient, and that will continue here for them. Of course, they'll be looking to close things out. It's all well and good to get to match point, but always need to be able to secure that final round. For the most part, in fact, yeah, teams in APAC South this stage have actually been doing a really good job at that because we haven't gone to overtime yet at all. So based on just that trend.
Tactical timeout, finally. But it's Direwolves.
Oh no.
Hey, it still counts, I guess, for Elevate because they too get to sit there and have a think about what's going on here. But it is very much looking like it could be the year of the wolf right now, guys, because they are absolutely looking so clean here for APAC South. They took down the Chiefs 7-5, and it's looking very likely that they're going to be able to take down Elevate. Now onto match point, and if they do so, it'll be 3 points secured. I don't think it's top spot because of round differential being a factor, in which case IJ on +6, Direwolves at the moment +2. It would only then go to +5 overall. So, I mean, you don't really care too much about it. More importantly, you're getting the 3 points. That's what's on offer here. So for the Direwolves now, it's about making sure they close this one out and do not allow Elevate to send this one to overtime.
Good performance so far from the Direwolves. Equally disappointing for Elevate. Very much feels like a same performance from them so far. That said, there could still be a final story in this chapter. I wouldn't count Elevate out just yet, but unfortunately for them, again, they just don't feel like they're firing on all cylinders yet. Hasn't been the absolute worst performance we've ever seen, but not quite stepping up to the plate. And if Elevate do lose the next round or lose the map overall in regulation time, that's 2 play days without a single point accrued. And that's such a big disadvantage to start having to bounce back from. They'll be the only team alongside Fury on 0 points. And that's a very lonely position they'll find themselves in.
Onigiri now 8-8 after a tremendous start in the opening 4 rounds, and really since then hasn't quite been able to get going. Mentioned before that Mr. Punch has obviously been pretty good. 11-9, Mark as well 8-7, because I think generally whenever you're going to see Elevate maybe struggling a little bit, guys, it's very easy to look at some of the new additions and think, well, is there an issue there? But in reality, those two are playing fine. I think it's very much more of a team issue at the moment for Elevate and why things just aren't quite working out. Nicely done from TCH to at least break both of these mirrors. That's huge on the Twitch and gets away scot-free as well and keeps this drone for a little bit longer. Just the little wins that need to go the way here for Elevate if they're to pull this one back. Mr. Punch opening up this meeting hatch and still 5 versus 5, which at this point I think is a win for Elevate because they haven't quite been able to really win out against Direwolves in these ones. So just get the checklist done, get these objectives finished, and then go for the late round execute.
Looking now to secure the meeting hatch, open that up. A 5v5 on basement can always be messy, but I do think Elevate, especially with those mirrors popped by DCH, are in a fantastic position. Pika, though, says no. Shuts down Mark, and that's a very good start for the defense.
Direwolves on the verge of picking up all 3 points against Elevate. Not too long to go for them. Tense moments, only one more gas babe available from ED. And Pika at half health. Needs to be careful though, with Mr. Punch now pushing into Freezer. Only 35 seconds left before Elevate will be starting the season on 0 points. It's a disaster, but TCH gets one, immediately traded though by ED. Harambe low, now dead for the count. Pika still low as well on that mirror, but he gets the swing, no! Loses out to Onigiri, who finds a double. A much needed double from Onigiri to stand up for Elevate. The ping over towards the pillar position. Souffle can't quite finish him off. Onigiri staying alive. Edie, the vault, the shotgun up close, and he gets the second onto Onigiri. Direwolves get 6 points from their first 2 games for APAC South. They are absolutely on fire. Elevate in the dumps on 0 points to start this split from 2 games.
ED built diff and the team is up and about. That's what we love about Direwolves. They're exciting in and out of the server. It has been a picturesque start to the stage for them. Doesn't get much better than this.
Do apologize if that was maybe a little bit loud with no sound, but what a moment. I mean, that was just an incredible play. Direwolves absolutely deserving all 3 points from this game, guys. They were the better team. They had an amazing first half to get that 3-3 scoreline on their attack, and then they hold out defensively as well. I mean, Elevate weren't awful by any means, and that's an even better thing for the Direwolves. You do not want to be getting wins against lesser opponents or teams that maybe you're expected to beat, or teams in a bit of bad form. Elevate still played pretty well. Their new additions were great. Onigiri, even in the last round over the double kill over towards Pillar. But Direwolves just had that determination to get this one done, to get all 3 points, and that puts them into the top 2. And I know we've only played 2 play days now, but there's only 7 in total, only 5 left. Every win you can get, massive. They've knocked off the Chiefs, they've knocked off Elevate, and to be completely frank, there's very lesser teams still to come for them in their schedule. Top 4 is looking great.
They played the Oregon textbook perfectly. Elevate lost this and Direwolves won it in the first half. By winning a Dorms attack twice, opened it up. From that point onwards, it was standard Oregon. Direwolves win the primary and the secondary site. They lose the tertiary, it resets, they close out the game. Simple as that.
Yep. An amazing match. The Direwolves are looking so incredible right now. A lot of fans for them in chat as well. They'll be absolutely stoked with the start to the year for the Direwolves. We'll head it back over to the desk where they can break it all down.
Well, the last thing we needed to do is stroke that kid's ego, you know, the kid's dorm ego, you know, how it just doesn't, they're always right, and I hate it. I hate it because they always make a good point, and it's really come to fruition here. Raven, what a performance from Direwolves. I mean, at this point, I think Onigiri's fears are almost coming to life.
Yeah, look, it was a really resilient effort from Direwolves, honestly, because Elevate, look, they had glimmers of hope. They played fairly well on a lot of occasions. Let quite a few rounds slip, and I think in particular some of Diabol's stars really stood up. Jackie Wu had a really big game today. ED in that last round as well, really stepping up when needed. I just think in general, Diab really coming together as a fairly well-rounded team that can kind of handle some of the adversities that are thrown at them. So yeah, look, I'm convinced, definitely top 4. I still feel like they could even push for a top 2 position here in Stage 1.
I mean, at this point, it wouldn't surprise us, would it, Dev?
No, not at all. I think, well, it's hard to say because APAC South is just always surprising us. That's the nature of this league, right? You can never really count out any particular team. We've seen Q-Confirm now Fury really struggle in the past and then do amazingly. We've seen Direwolves shoot from bottom of the standings to nearly qualifying for 6 Invitational. And I think it just goes to show how tight this league is. We always say it, but Direwolves, I think that they can be really, really happy with the fact that they've taken out the Chiefs, they've taken out Elevate, 2 of the best teams in APAC South, and Nate, APAC as a whole from 2021, they've already taken their dog tags and taken the 6 points along with it.
Some huge scalps. I mean, like the fact that it's Chiefs and now Elevate, like this is... it's interesting listening to Guz and Ox talk about it because it really does give you this sense of Direwolves kind of coming around full circle, Raven. It's like they are starting to hit a final form. Oh my word, that is absolutely incredible. But it does feel like they are starting to hit, their final form and their strides into what could be an APAC South demon.
Yeah, look, it genuinely feels like it. And it's like I said, I felt like there were a lot of moments there that felt really good, well-rounded team efforts from Direwolves, and then also like very good singular efforts from their players. And that's what we've seen from some of the top teams in the region before, is it's that combination. You can have your star players, but you also have to have your really well-coordinated team moments. I feel like that's what we're starting to get from Direwolves, a really good combination of both of those.